Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff, and today we are hanging out doing some painting. Forgive me, I didn't get everything set up in the background, but just having a nice light chill Saturday. I'm very excited because my Scaven series started today, and it's been a bit since I did some lore videos, just taking a mental health break and doing stuff for the family for the summer, as we all did. So I'm back at it, and we're going to be talking about Scaven on the channel for quite a bit here. I assume the next book is Stormcast, although I haven't gotten any kind of confirmation on anything. But, I mean, it's the 2-player starter set, right? So I also look forward to jumping into that, especially with how much the Stormcast battle tome has changed, right? We gained some stuff, we lost a lot. Give me a vision for the future, right? That's what I'm excited about. So, anyway, friends, I'm going to be hanging out here and doing some painting. And if you wouldn't mind, just let me know if everything is working okay, if you can hear and see me, and we will get to the painting. Now I'm going to show you what I have on my table here. So when I got this, I got a lot of used Khorne stuff, and I'm happy to show off what I'm actually working on or been working on. To Doug it out of AOS. No, I'm back into it. No, apologies. I just meant I took a break from lore videos or whatever. I was told there's going to be Khorne. Yes, here we are. So, I bought a used lot from a local guy who was moving. And he gave me these 5 Blood Warriors because that's what the old starter set was. They used to be in units of 5. And so, I didn't know what to do with them. I thought about, well, I could buy another 5 identical ones on eBay. And that sounded kind of boring because I hate having too many of the same sculpt. So, I made it difficult. I knew at some point I wanted 2 units of these dudes, so I went to my local store, I bought a box of them. I made 5 in different poses from the 5 that are pre-built. These 10 will be a unit, and then when I get the other 5 that are pre-made like this in the mail, or monopose in the mail, I'll build the other 5 of the Blood Warrior kit, mix them all together, and boom! We got some variety. I can see and hear you. Question mark? I'm Ron Burgundy. Okay. And then above them, I don't know if they're just off camera, we also have the Realm Gore Ritualist and I think Bloodmaster? Slaughtermaster? I don't know. It's the Herald on foot because in the same trade that I got these guys, I got 3 of the demon, not Blood Crushers, but the demons riding the Juggernauts. And so I have no way to field them right now because I don't have a hero up until this moment. So there we go. Grab some paints here. I would love to know what everybody in the chat is working on. Happy Scaven Day for pre-ordering. One thing I wanted to show off here on their community tab was just how utterly impressed I am with the Master Moulder dude. Like, first of all, that artwork's amazing. And yeah, there's the new mini where he's like grafted himself, and they just did a better job with the overall gore and body horror theme. And then I think we've already seen, oh, it's the Hell Pit. We've already seen the Brood Horror that's pictured here on the right. So I'm going to give you a little fun fact. Okay. I've been doing the lore for the Battle Tome, and I absolutely love it. If you look here, because when I click into it, it doesn't pull up, but you see this secondary small head on the Brood Horror? You know what that is? That is the previous Master Moulder of that particular Scaven army. And sometimes they are betrayed and grafted onto the Brood Horror, but other times they graft themselves on, thinking that this is how they'll, like, ascend, right? Like, if their mind is strong enough to control the Brute's mind, then they get this whole body that is just a whole magnitude bigger of killing machine. But anyway, I thought that was cool when I read that, because they kind of pointed out the tiny head, and I was like, okay, it's not a brain bug, but like, you know, the brain bugs on the back of like the Storm Fiends or whatever. So I'm like, so why does he have a tiny rat head? And that is the previous boss. So, okay, I'm gonna go back down to my Khorne stuff. We'll get to painting. If anyone has any thoughts or whatever on the Scaven stuff, I would love to hear it. And I'm going to start with red, which I don't normally do, but That is the base color of all these guys. And I know that 5 are primed black, 5 are primed white. I get it. We got what we got. But I'm going to... Normally I would just do one layer of... or a solid color, like I would just do the blood red. I'm going to start with... This is burnt red from Pro Acrylic. We'll start there, because that'll give me a nice even red foundation for the rest of the colors to build up on. And I can just kind of dry brush the stronger red tones. Let's see. Hey Doug, how's it going? It is going well. Hanging out, getting some paint on some minis. Put those guys off to the side. Now here's the fun, messy part where we're just going to aim for the armor. Like I said before, I'd love to know what everybody else is working on. Actually, I need a different brush. This one, not so great with that kind of level of detail. Not a fan of the brain rats. I'm trying to convert them so it looks good without them. I think I've painted some, but I don't remember how the kit goes together to know how easy that would be. It doesn't sound difficult. I mean, worst case scenario, you could just green stuff that whole thing and roll it into the back armor, I suppose. Like just literally clip the whole rat off. For this step, we are just blocking out colors. We don't have to care about doing a good job. Just try to generally stay away from skin where it's convenient. But also it's a nice warm color, so it doesn't really matter. I have been playing an immense amount of Assassin's Creed Valhalla lately. Having a great time with it, I really am. I'm kind of getting the bug to try Space Marine 2, although I have never played Space Marine 1, and it is not available on the Xbox Microsoft Store, so that's kind of a bummer. I was hoping to try it, but I'm just curious as to if it's a kind of game that I would enjoy. Good stuff. Haven't started anything yet today, but I'm done with lunch. I'll be building the cities of Sigmar. Sweet. What kind of city are you building? Or I guess, are you doing your own themed city, or is it like a existing theme, whatever? I always get excited for folks when I learn about, like, you know, folks who have like custom heraldry and stuff like that. Mainly because heraldry is one of those things that just I don't understand, but it's like a whole thing. If you meet the right kind of nerd and ask him about heraldry, it's kind of like asking the right nerd about flags. Where you're just like, you can't even be aware of what you're about to step into. Nothing will prepare you. Flag people are their own breed. Turn that brightness down just a smidge. Professionally, a Demons of Khorne army. Personally, I've decided to build up every Spearhead force on Flesh Eater Court at the moment. Already got OBR and KO done. Nice. I would love to hear your thoughts if you start playing with the Flesh Eater Court 1. I have not been having the best time in 4th with my Flesh Eaters. They have taken the role of Shelf Queen, and that is why I am excitedly working on these guys. I just can't seem to make them work for me. I also know that they are not the just run straight in and punch stuff faction that I necessarily want them to be, but I don't know. I was already... It was a total stranger, so I don't take insult. I think he was just trying to be funny. But I didn't understand, and so I was like a little weirded out at first. But anyway, I was at the game store, I was picking up these dudes, and I was kind of hovered over a Bloodthirster. I was like, you know what? I remember when that kit came out. I was like working at my last job and like looking at a white dwarf over my lunch break, and I remember seeing the ads for it. I was like, I would love that model. And as soon as I picked it up, the guy who was just shopping for models next to me went, "Power gamer, huh?" And I was like, what? He's like, it's like the best unit in the Khorne army. And I was like, oh, I don't know. It's a cool model. It's a giant devil dude. I was like, oh yeah, well, if you buy that, people are probably going to think you're a power gamer. I said, interesting. This kit makes 3 different units. Are they all that way? Like, unilaterally? No. Okay, so why are you talking to me? I could build any one of 3 things and you assumed 1, man. Just chill. I don't know. He was real awkward. Like I said, I don't think he meant anything mean by it. I think he was just like, maybe thought he was shooting the breeze amongst peers. As far as competitive players go. And yes, I actually do have a custom heraldry for my city. I can share it with you if you like. Yes, I won't be able to see it for a bit, obviously, but I'm always curious. For some reason, my favorite color scheme with like the old Empire stuff is when people would do blue, yellow, checkered. And I've just never been a brave enough human to try that. I also don't paint a lot of projects where that would be a reasonable scheme that I would want to even consider. I suppose I could make it a trend with Khorne armies of having bright pattern checkers, but I'm good. I like the red. Sure we get all these little cracks and crevices. Are you still doing Flesh Eater Quartz? I have put them on the shelf for right now because I'm not super enjoying how they play. But I still have them, and I'm still taking them to Holy Havoc. Me and Dan Bears are teaming up. It's like a 2-player team event. So he's bringing some Flesh Eater Quartz. And he wanted a whole congregation of ghouls, and so he's doing the dude spam, and then I'm coming in with the horrors and a few heroes to kind of make some synergies work. That's a rough idea. But yeah, I still have them. I mean, you know, I have enough internal sense to know if I don't like the way something plays, now is not the time to sell it off. Because GW is listening and they're taking all that information, and whenever they start doing like the big, you know, more meaningful updates rather than just FAQs and tiny adjustments, emergency hotfixes, I have no doubt that they'll be fun. Like, I don't doubt that they'll be fun. I'm just struggling to understand. Part of it is also like, I generally benefit from watching battle reports of like okay, so what is this guy with Flesh Eater Courts doing, right? You know, obviously if you turn on mini wargaming and one guy is just immediately getting dumpstered, you're like, well, this is of dubious educational value. But if it's a good battle report, which they have done at some, as of late, I haven't watched too many of their 4th edition ones, so that's specifically what I'm talking about. But like in terms of games where you feel like you watched somebody competently try with a faction, win or lose, doesn't matter. But like, hey, this person, they gave their opponent a good game. Like that's kind of the stuff I'm looking for. And they just are not a popular enough faction. I just don't feel like there's a glut of Flesh Eater Court content online for me to learn vicariously from. But we'll see. There are, however, a fair few Khorne players because all the Chaos Gods have their dedicated servants in the real world. There's always going to be someone who wants to play a straight Khorne army or someone who wants to play a straight Nurgle army or whatever. They didn't change much in terms of their core army rules in 4th. You still have noble deeds. I don't think much has changed, so what happened? Well, first, I just want to start off with, I didn't play them in 3rd, so like, saying that they didn't change much, they're new to me. But my problem that I keep getting into is I feel like a lot of my units are pillow-fisted. I got to know a bunch of horrors because I was very excited to paint them. And when I put them on the table, they don't do anything. They essentially hit like a ghoul alternative, just an elite version, which is cool, and I do like it. There are some wonderful synergies that work with the knight keyword. But getting a unit to swing hard that isn't riding a Terrorgeist, I have found to be a chore. Like I've played against Nurgle, and Nurgle has its own little asterisk because they can shut down your bringing dudes back to life. So there's already kind of like a built-in disadvantage to our army rules there, but like that didn't really come up too much. It was more just I didn't have the fist needed to punch anything. I just kind of wilted. Every time I had an objective and my opponent came to it, they took it. Every time I put a hero on the side of combat to try and score some noble deed points, he got punked. I have no doubt it's just because of the way I played it, and I'm not claiming it's a bad army. Just saying, I don't get it. I'm good at with like the Bone Splitters and the Beasts of Chaos back in the day in 3rd were melee-centric armies with a lot of chumps. You know, they can lack hitting power, but the reason I didn't struggle with them is because the heroes in those armies serve a very different role. So heroes in like Beasts of Chaos, most of the time it was just a shaman who exists to get everybody to run way faster. Okay, that was the old rule anyway. I don't know what he has now for the next year. But it was Beasts of Chaos was, and also Khorne, heroes that bring specific buffs that you can place on units and then have that unit go do a thing. Okay, that's a line of math that I understand. Unit does X, hero gives them a +1 or something. Okay, change the formula. Flesh Eater Courts, they do that too, but there's also this side thing of you want them in combat. And so getting my heroes into combat but not killed, and then trying to juggle the buffs that they give and where they have to be to do both those things, to hurt people and also be where they need to be to put the buffs on people. I just having a hard time with it. I don't put a lot of stock into the competitive polls or whatever. But even if we just kind of take them as a general face value, they're dead bottom on all the Honest Wargamer stuff. And I don't Again, I'm not saying it's because the army's bad. I'm saying it's maybe not intuitive. I'm sure there's really great players who have high skill levels that are going to come in and just make it an absolute machine. But I am very casual. Now you could have a hero just stand back on the altar, or their whatever they have. But that also reduces the range of some of their abilities that they're able to project onto the units around them. Use those in a game of Death Wizard. I actually, yes, I have them and a whole slew of those Underworld warbands that like are death kind of, but not quite a death army. Like there was the one that looked like kind of like zombie style, or sorry, Frankenstein style monsters. Like those kinds. I'm very excited to play Death Wizard. I got my stuff in the mail midsummer, and then just we've been traveling, so I haven't had a chance to play it, but I am so stoked. I love Snarling Badger Games. If you don't know, that's Vince Ventrella and Adam Loper. Uncle Adam. And I've heard nothing but great things. I think the only game of theirs that didn't hook me, and it had more to do with table size and the ability to play, was the Majestic 13, where you're hunting monsters, which is strange because that thematically and like in terms of its, I don't know, the kind of vibe it's going for is definitely the one that on paper would appeal to me the most. Mainly because I could then have my game of hunting the Mothman. Let's see. I'm catching up on the chat here, guys. We should get up more with list building in general. Yeah, it's basically where mine tabs out too. I will say I have enjoyed them quite a bit in Spearhead because on such a small table size, specifically the Morbeg Knight's ability to attack and then retreat. Or I'm sorry, retreat and charge, whatever it is fantastic because you can use them to either psych out and go for objectives or go at the enemy. You can just do a lot of stuff, and I like having that utility. And they do the same thing on the full table game, of course, like in terms of they still fill a role, they still do a good job. But yeah, in general, I feel like I took one game with my zombie dragon, and I felt decidedly like it was one of those things where I ended up winning the game, but upon like reflecting on it, I was like, the only unit who did stuff was the zombie dragon, and that's cool. I love having the big monster. It's also not what I was excited for, right? I mean, that's kind of one of those things that we all run into sometimes when you have an army that aesthetically you like, and then the battle tone changes or whatever, and what you liked is no longer the same. Just kind of that same like, I mean, it works, but at what cost? I want to be the person I have to be. Or what is it? I know what I have to do. I just don't know if I have the strength to do it, as you're staring at your painting pile of 4 more zombie dragons. And this layer is a little bit lighter, and I'm just going back through to touch up the white because it kind of, as you'd expect, lightened up. Death Wizard is awesome. Going to game a bit. My Necromancer's Horde grows. He's really into recycling. Recycling people, obviously. Absolutely, yes. Bury secrets, not corpses, man. Because we only have need for one of those two. It's an old Vine, but one of my favorites is just, it's been deeply programmed as a guy in a, was like a 17th century, like, plague doctor outfit. He's like, hi, I'm Bob the Necromancer. Today we're doing an unboxing. And he camera shifts and he, like, sticks his shovel into a grave. And the clip just ends. I love it. Let's see. Death Wizard is awesome. Flesh Eater Court's got 2 major nerfs. They lost their main way of generating points on the guys that heal the units. Back up and got a lot of 3s to hit. Changed to 4s. Now, I will say, in my game versus Nurgle, a lot of his stuff hit on 3s too, so we kind of felt like we were just like a little slap fight each other. But that, I mean, I do feel like that was a major across-the-board thing. A lot of armies got that. Barring the ones who they specifically wanted to not, like Stormcast or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Even my Skull Reapers deal 2 damage on the attack. I'm like, oh man. Give them a second to try more. We'll go over to this guy. Now I'm going to do a bunch of washes on him and stuff, so I'm actually okay if his brick red kind of lightens up a smidge. I had my demons painted with like the bold Pyrrhic red, so this is just going to be a covered up base layer. If anyone has a topic they'd love to chat about, please go ahead and drop it in the chat and we will wax poetically upon it. But I did this because, frankly, I need to get some painting in. And it always goes faster when you're doing it with friends. Always, always. Let's see. Hey Doug, I'm about to post my folder for commissioned Cities of Sigmar art in the Discord. How hard do you want me to go into the lore? I'm going to say keep it surface level and minimal if you want me to read it. If you'd like everybody else to see everything, please go ahead and share it. I am a skimmer by nature. I like synopses, cliff notes. All right. Nice. Put them over there. What are your thoughts on future spearheads? What do you think they'll look like? Orcs, etc. For me, what I love, I'm going to give stuff a second to dry here. What I would love about Spearhead factions going forward, one of the things I like about the ones that exist now is that they are kind of small representations of what different kinds of armies could be. So for example, we have a Spearhead of Stormcasts that are the coterie of Andrasta. Okay, we have a Stormcast Spearhead that is obviously the new Reclusian stuff that's coming out. Or all their units with the various keywords that have that. Yeah, so like they're just different. They're the same army. They have different rules in Spearhead, which is great, but they're representing 2 different sides of the same faction. And what I'd like is more stuff like that. I don't want named characters like Andrasta, but imagine if you got the same thrill of building a Spearhead army that you did with the small warband of chaos stuff, right? It's like a narrative unto itself. So to that end, what I would like is more Spearheads to come in each battle tome that give us different glimpses of the faction. So like with the Scaven one, we have a few Scaven Spearheads right now. I would love one eventually that is just pestilent stuff, because why not? Or just scryer, or and playtest them as you want. Redo the war scrolls. That's kind of the whole thing with Spearhead, is you can make them work together and fair and balanced, because you're forcing that. That's the primary thing, and then everything else is afterwards. So like, I feel like that shouldn't be too hard. I would love to see like a Vanguard chamber one for the Stormcast, a Warrior chamber one, or you could even make it specific, like Steel Hearts Recon Squad, and it's maybe like 3 squads from the Vanguard stuff, and then one other thing that this guy has an affinity for. It's something to build a little like personality into it, but just taking different sections of models, because Spearhead is fantastic as an on-ramp to get people to play an AOS army. The problem is, right, and this is the next step, right? They've already solved, I think, the problem of having engaging ways of getting people to play Warhammer at small levels. The next step is you have factions that are so big that no single Spearhead box could conceivably accurately represent the whole faction. Right, Seraphon's a great example. You got skinks, you got Saurus, you got monsters, you got everything in between. You got fat boys and lazy boys. Like, there's so many different things. You could make 4 different Spearheads conceivably that have very limited model crossover, that if you were to buy them sequentially, give you a massive collection of Seraphon and 4 to 5 Spearhead forces, and have limited copies of doubles of stuff. And so, counter to that, there's also stuff like Fire Slayers, which have very few model choices. So I guess what I'm saying is, what I want for the future of Spearhead is for the factions that have a deep enough toolbox, and that you have taken the time, GW, to create various completely different lore angles for, like the different types of Scaven or the different chambers or Stormcast. Give me on-ramps to those too, because collectively they all add up to a whole army. And if I have 2 Spearheads for Stormcast and I'm 1 or 2 units shy of making that a 15k thing, or a 1,500 point thing, yeah, man. So, yes, and Little Stinker just put you to the fact that they're doing a Dark Oath Spearhead. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The Slaves to Darkness one would be super fun for having Dark Oath, Chaos Warriors, and then maybe like a monster menagerie, because they have all those weird random beasts and stuff like that. So, yeah. That's what I am thinking about for Spearhead. Let's see. As far as what unit composition for Orcs, for Ironjaws rather, Ardboys, of course, I'd love to see one of the new units that's just like the 3 elite dudes. Mainly because I think that's very interesting. One thing I noticed on Spearhead boards is, because the table size is smaller, the footprints of units is like a silent stat. And I'm not stealing, I'm not inventing that idea, I believe. Oh man, I can see his face, but I can't think of his channel name. There's another fantastic YouTuber who does AOS stuff, but he came up with that like there's a silent stat that is the base size. And so, oh, Halo, that's what I'm thinking of. And I feel that more acutely in Spearhead because the table size is so small. Point being, 3-man elite units are fun because they can kind of like wheel around stuff without getting in the 3-inch range. But yeah. Oh, look, man, I didn't have time to go searching for models online to think of like a specific one. I would just look up out of print kits for wizard stuff. I saw that you had plenty of conversation with another gentleman. I don't know specifically. I don't have a wide knowledge of like all the GW kits that you could possibly kit bash it with. I just remember really liking the old Empire wizard that was like the Wizard of Gur or something like that, where he had like the 2 stag horns or whatever, and I don't know, he looked kind of wild and feral and naturey. He was fun. Ja, I feel like the dwarves should unite and become one big team. I don't, but a huge asterisk. Games Workshop in this edition has created a format that they can do that at the stroke of a pen. And what I mean by that is Armies of Renown. In the back of the battle tomes that come out now, if you don't know this, that's why I'm explaining it, they'll have like themed armies. So in the Scaven one, there's one for Thankful and Bone Ripper, which is just him and all the big monstrosities that Scaven puts together, right? Rat Ogres and Hellpit Abominations and just the big stuff. Oops, all cool models, right? No clan rats. And it basically gives you your alternate set of army rules and tells you can only take these units. But what if they opened that up and created, like I said, stroke of a pen, a Army of Renown, we'll say in the Fire Slayers book, right? That is, we'll call it the Grugny Entente, is what I called it last time. But basically, it lists off a collection of models from the KO, the Fire Slayers, maybe the cities if you want to include just the Dwarden stuff there. Or you could just have it say the Dwarden keyword, however you wanted to. But basically create their own army list. It would take 2 pages and could be a free PDF. and that way everyone's different though. Like the Fire Slayer player doesn't lose anything by this other thing existing. They gain opportunities. And the same goes for all the other 2 factions involved in that little setup. So I think they definitely, I don't know. I feel like they definitely added a way to make that happen. And I could definitely see it coming in like a campaign supplement. That would actually, I think, be an ideal place for that. Because then they could sell one of those boxes that has everything like at an egregious price of just like, listen, do you want, I don't know, Chumlee's Flight Coven? Here, it's 3 Arcanauts and, 3 frigates and 2 units of Magmadroths and this one hero that you can only get here that makes them all work together. GW loves that stuff. I'm giving you guys money ideas. I would love, they could even go smaller than that. What if you just had like, I don't know, like the Forge Coven and it's maybe just a collection of heroes from a bunch of those disparate sub-factions and stuff. I love it. But yes, I would love to see, I don't want to see all the other battle tomes go away and get replaced with a single unified one. I want to see the option to unify them. Sure, I just didn't want to buy the old Battle Mage kit and make something worth it. Sorry, it's hard to do. It's hard to do on the fly. Torch and Shield behind you. I hope that goes on general release. We didn't have the spare funds during the Kickstarter and it looks excellent. It is excellent. I just painted some models for it in my last stream. And they are just now, like, I just got my Kickstarter fulfillment in the mail. So I'd imagine they're going to go on general release here soon, which I'm very excited for. And it is one of the most fun casual or competitive games there is, because you can game it and you can cheese it if you are out for blood. Like if you're the guy who ruins Monopoly for everybody else, you can have a great time. And everybody else will too, because the stuff that happens is ridiculous. Like throwing your beer at a dude to set him on fire and then he becomes a light source. And you're in like a dark tunnel and you can't see anything. I love it. How could you possibly be mad at that? But yes, I'm very excited to see what GW goes forward and does with I don't know, the space they've created in terms of writing. Because like, as Vince pointed out, they did a similar thing with army compositions and oh, what do they call them? The battle packs or whatever. Like you could create a battle pack for anything. Tournament organizers can I talk for a living. TOs can put together their own custom battle packets or whatever. But they just didn't really capitalize on that, I feel. Whereas I'm hoping in campaign books and stuff like that, that hopefully don't wait until the edition's over to drop. Maybe we could do that thing. Did anything come from the Slaanesh newborn? Haven't heard anything about them in a while, and I think that a new Chaos God incarnate would be a big deal. I don't think so. No, I think we'll call that a cliffhanger nugget. However, I will say, I am more confident in GW's willingness to come back to cliffhangers after seeing how active Marathi has been since she ascended to godhood. I'm not going to lie, I kind of thought like, okay, well, they needed to rewrite the battle tome, so they made her a central figure, but then like she kind of keeps showing up, and I'm just like really here for that. I like reoccurring characters. We don't have a ton of them. In terms of like the epic drama between the gods, right? I mean, everything else seems to pass away before them. I still haven't finished Scaven Tide. I need to. I'm so close to the end of it. I'm really enjoying it, by the way. I stand by my review that I said last time. Scaven Tide being the narrative book that matches the Skaven Doom box or whatever. Maybe it is Skaven Doom. I get them interchanged. But anyway. It's sort of the edition starter. It introduces the story, I think, very, very well. I love seeing the Skaven in action. And again, this is no spoilers. One thing I'll say is that they do a good job. They being the author, I don't know their name off the top of my head. They do a really good job of making the Skaven both a known entity but an unknown threat, if that makes sense. So like, they learn fairly quickly into the book, as you and I probably know, that they're fighting Skaven. That's not a spoiler, right? It's on the cover. But at the same time, the characters are seeing things that they don't recognize as Skaven attacks, kind of in the same way as Dominion, where like, what are we fighting? Orcs. These are not normal orcs, right? Because they're introducing cruel boys, and in the same way they're introducing the machinations of the Skaven in a mystery fashion. So I thought it was very rewarding to read, even as someone who, like, you know, you've seen the model range. At that point, I've read the battle tome ahead of time, and like, I know the context for these things. I probably know the blurbs that the author was given and told, make this a scene. But I still enjoyed it. Like, it was just a fun experience. So absolutely. So Doug, I posted art and lore summary in the Discord. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much, dude. Skaven Doom is the event. Tide is the box. There we go. Reminds me of Gloomspite too. One of my favorite Black Library books. Yes, actually, in terms of the pacing, I would say yes. Whereas they're not contradicting. Just like in Gloomspite, the pacing is like this constant ramping up because something big is coming. It's the same idea. It's like everything seems to be zeroing in on a disaster, and then it happens, and you're like, oh, oh. So you're saying Scaven Tide book is at par with a Dominion. In terms of what they do to introduce the setting and what's going on and the current afflictions and the tone, absolutely. I have no qualms about saying that. The one thing I will say is the first chapter, muscle through it with Scaven Tide. And the reason I say that, I said this in my last one, I'm sorry if everybody listened to that one too and they just hear me repeating myself. It seems like the author put the book down in front of their editor, and the editor was like, well, we need this to be introducing people to Age of Sigmar, and then injected like half a paragraph long explanations, like lore dumps on stuff like in the first chapter. So you can't just be like, I looked over and I saw a Stormcast. I looked over and I saw a Stormcast. Forged from the Hell Steel, from lightning, from Sigmar's butthole. Twice blessed upon the anvil of apotheosis. Like, it's just very verbose. Like, oh my god. You saw a dude down the road. Chill. Just that kind of stuff. Where you're just like, you got to reel it in. Keep the story moving. But honestly, I have, once I got past the first chapter, I never felt that way again, and it felt like the author was maybe released from the training wheels. I mean, I think this is one of their first works with Black Library, if I'm not mistaken. So, yes, I do think it was a good book. I would put it on par with Dominion in terms of introducing the scene, the vibe, all that kind of stuff. And there's some really cool scenes that I can't get into without spoilers. But I would also put it on par with Soul Wars, because they're mean to Stormcasts in very unique and interesting ways, and they're cool. But yes. Jesse, thanks for all the Spearhead games. Absolutely. Yes, I've been enjoying them. Jesse is one of my opponents here locally who beat me so bad that I got a text message later that day apologizing because I'm just bad at using the Flesh Eater Quartz. That was funny. Alright, so I'm going to go and knock out the boots next, I think, for these guys. I'm not doing a single fancy thing. I'm just grabbing we've got dark golden brown. Perfect. Sigmar Butthole twice bleached. Yes. White as Azir itself. We wait upon its thunder. Gary Cloister is the author's name, and I don't think Scaven Tide is his first book. Looks like he's written for GW before. Okay, well, thank you. I didn't recognize him. I mean, there's also those authors that GW keeps on staff where you're like, I feel like I know this guy, and maybe he's written like 6 short stories, and that's why you kind of hear the name, so it kind of rings, but then like doesn't in any other way. I feel like I am that way with a lot of their authors. I think I know that guy. He did not know that guy. No, I've never read any books by him. He's read 6 of his works. When do you think the new Stormcast models will come out? I don't know. I imagine they have to be soon. They never release the Scaven stuff, or not Scaven stuff, the starter set armies too far apart from one another, because everybody's got that stuff and wants to use it, right? We've got a bunch of very impatient claw lords around here. Hopefully soon. I mean, I have to imagine it's very soon, because they did preview that new Stormcast hero who's like riding the dragon or whatever. Not dragon. Isn't like a griff thing. There's a guy who looks like a Grim Reaper. He looks super savage. So I can't imagine it's too far away. I'll try a darker brown. Mix it up a little bit. Ah, yes. Smells of rich mahogany. Oh, wait, that's like a... Let's see. Let's see. I was down at my local game store to pay my cheese tax today. More griff. Not gonna lie, I do not like that color for boots at all. Let's see what we got. Here we go. Let's try this one. That's definitely a colder blue. I like that one more. The Witness models seem to be aiming to one of those expensive ones, but I wonder if it's more expensive than the current dragons. I'm curious. Yeah, I don't know. Like the well, it depends on which dragon. You mean like the? I assume he's not as expensive as like the heroes on the Uber dragon, because he doesn't seem to be that big. But that might not be true. Now that I think about it, he might be right up in there. I did say to my buddy Jack, like, that's the only one of the few Games Workshop models that I've ever wanted to buy twice so I could paint the hero version and the normal version. Because I think it looks awesome. I'm gonna play around here. I don't know why I like dark boots. That wasn't the color I thought it was. Here we go. Let's see what happens here. Hey, I actually kind of like that. No, you're doing fine, dude. You're good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still curious to see. I guess we have the pricing on a bunch of the Scaven stuff now, don't we? I'll have to go check it out when I'm done with the stream. I was gonna say I'm excited to see the Brood Horror's pricing, just because I'm curious as to where he fits. It kind of seems like a, I don't know. He's like a really interesting in-between sizes of monster. And I will say, the Brood Horror alone was one I was like, I had to pause when I thought about doing a Scaven army for a second. I was like, I could totally do this. I could do Moulder. It's my favorite clan. Never been a better time. No, I want a Khorne. I've been too hurt by the Scaven before. I expect they'll be on par with Ionis. Yeah, I was thinking Ionis or the, what is it, Vedra? Whatever, she's riding a Griff thing. That would be kind of a comparable, I'd imagine. Because I think her Griff is bigger, but she's a smaller character, whereas the Stormcast is a bigger hero. Let's see, got this here. I think the Brood Horror was around 70. Busy. I'm looking at one of the articles right now. Blue Terror. At least this is where I read it and why I was thinking of it. Brood Terror is her favorite creations. I think the Brood Terror is around 70. Okay. That doesn't... I mean... It sounds GW fair, which is to say unreasonable for any other company. have the same feeling. I just recently gotten into Lego building at the ripe old age of 36 or 35. How old am I? I don't actually remember. So anyway, and that has been a fun experience because it turns out all hobbies are exactly the same, and people complain about Lego prices the exact same way that people complain about GW prices. And you know what? They get to charge whatever they want because they're the king of the castle. Right? GW is the king of the model kit. Lego's the king of the bricks. What's that? Third-party bricks? I mean, I guess you can use them, but you're doomed to obscurity. No one will remember your saga when you're done. I got a stern talking to, not a stern, I say that in jest. A talking to from my my cousin-in-law. So I go to his house, and he is a pretty big Lego collector. Like, he, specifically the Star Wars stuff, like just the things that is nostalgia attached to him. So he likes the Star Wars stuff. And he said it, and I know he didn't mean to be disparaging, but the way he was just like, and just so you know, like, Legoers, like, we don't glue stuff. And I kind of just paused. I had the same gut reaction as when people sound disparaging about not pinning your models in the Warhammer community, where it's like, you know, you should do this. Where I just wanted to be like, I'm never gluing a goddamn Lego in my life. I'm gonna glue all of them now. I'm gonna hose this thing down in so much super glue, it's gonna be white with a crackle effect. Like, no, I refuse. Do not tell me how to hobby. But that seemed a little inappropriate. But do you need to paint your Lego? Yes, but that's what I mean. Of just like, don't tell me how to do this. I'm my own man, dang it. Is it because of the Lego movie? No. This was like, he said it in the same tone that I would give advice to hobbyists starting. Like if somebody came to me and was like, what kind of primer would you use? Like, oh yeah, well, there's a bunch of different kinds. I would probably just go to the hardware store and do blah, blah, blah. Don't use, non-primer stuff. Or I'm trying to think of like types of primer that I wouldn't use for this example. Maybe anything has a crackle effect. But like, yeah, I would warn people, don't use, specific kinds of paints or something like that just because they're a little bit messy. Stick with acrylics, that kind of thing. Where it's technically dismissive in terms of I'm saying no to other stuff, but it's for the purpose of pointing you in a helpful, easy to go direction. His was kind of the same thing. It was the same tone, but it was just like, we don't glue our Legos. It's like, maybe not in this household. And I've never wanted to glue a Lego in my life, but now my rebellious streak is just like... Anyway, so I built here, this is a bonsai tree with the pink stuff. The only kits that I've built for Lego stuff have been botanical kits. So like flowers, for my wife, we gotten 2 different sets of like the succulents. What else? Orchid, chrysanthemum, or whatever it's called, and a few others. So yeah, I've been really enjoying it. Now, Krylon's a brand that I would use. There's specifically like an automotive primer that it fuzzes up every single time because it's not meant for models. I'm trying to think of what it was. But anyway, that's why my example fell apart real quickly. But he just said it in a tone that I think was supposed to be helpful of just, this is just something you don't do. Or I'm just like, do whatever I want. I do what I want. That's my Lego, I don't know you. Let's see, we're doing flesh next, so... Go advanced flesh too. Hello, my dude. Love the latest Scaven video. Thank you so much for the kind words. It's fun to do. I have the next two already recorded and ready to go. And those are dealing with Blight City and introducing the Scaven power structure, and then moving into the actual clans themselves. Because I figure with Scaven, it's just easier to divide the unit lore into their clans. So like in my Verminous video, which is number 3, we'll start talking about clan rats and claw lords and that kind of stuff. Really love the work that GW did in making Critic Foulblade the new Scaven hero. He's worthy of his own video, but I did list him in the the Verminous one, just because I just had to talk about him sooner. And there's a lot of units that people are excited to learn about, so I kind of was like, you know, we'll do a brief rundown here, but I'll get a dedicated video later on. And essentially, he stands apart from other Claw Lords just because he has the mentality that any slaves I don't let die today, I can kill tomorrow. Which, in a weird makes him the most merciful and beneficent of all Claw Lords, because he doesn't throw his guys away as uselessly. And so all the clan rats are like, I want to work for Critic Foulblade. He's so just, he's so kind, he's so merciful, he doesn't waste our lives. And then he's just like, I could spend that many lives on Tuesday if I save a couple today. And his sword is a Warpstone Demon Blade that has the soul of a Vermin Lord inside of it. And the Vermin Lord tried to get Critic Foulblade to go against Vizix Scour, the new demon Vermin Lord that we got. And Critic did the mental math and was like, you're never going to beat that guy. So then he decided to go to Critic and rat out the Vermin Lord, who was prisoned by subsequently being locked inside of the sword, which Critic now wields. So anyway, that's your mini lore video. Let's see. Glad buying Warhammer here is super difficult and to import and super expensive. Where are you at? He's the new Rat Chaos God. Critic is a new, just a little hero. He's the new Claw Lord model we got, where he's like on a rock with a sword. Good guy. My point being in that story, I feel like the Battle Tome did a lot to add a lot of flavor, and it came with an army of renown that is themed around Critic's warband, the clan rats who don't like being thrown away. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm here for. Give me more unique armies. There's one question I have about the Flesh Eater Courts. They have these delusions, right? But the story of Ushuran and Dawnbringers made me feel that the rest of the ghouls also know what they're doing. Am I wrong in this assumption? When you say that you know what they're doing, do you mean like do you mean you feel like the ghouls are aware of what's happening? There are instances where they get flashes of what's going on, but they happen so quickly that like they kind of just shake their head and like, oh man, must have drank too much and stuff like that. There are stories where Neferata talks to a Arborant Ghoul King at one point in one of her books, and he has this sobering moment where he just kind of like looks down at the floor and he's like, I'm insane, aren't I? And she's like, yeah. Like he just had this moment of breaking, and then he just kind of rallies and is like, well, sane people don't change the world. And then he just falls right back into being a Flesh Eater Court Aberrant Ghoul King madness. That was my synopsis. That wasn't actually what he said, but I wish it was. This guy's crazy, like a fox. So, yes, my understanding of how the delusion with them works is they see the world through their aberrant's eyes. Khorne has full awareness. He does. I don't think he has clarity. So what he's talking about in the campaign story, Khorne is working with the New Lamians to like keep Usherin kind of sedated, chill, hanging out or whatever they're doing, stealing blood, and then Usherin flips the tables and gets rid of all of them. Khorne's part of that, double crossing. And it is clear that he understands. And not only that, Khorne can read, which is actually a superpower amongst the Flesh Eater courts because nobody else can. So as far as like tomes and texts and valuable goods and stuff like that, he's up there. Your average person, though, I don't think they necessarily see what's going on, at least in its total context. Because there's a difference between, like right now, I see myself sitting at my table painting a unit of Blood Warriors. But if I think about what I'm doing, I'm hanging out with people, right? In the same way, what if this ghoul sees a dead body in front of them, but their brain is not registering that they're a mad person who just killed them? They're just like, oh, so even if they have those moments of clarity of what they're literally seeing, that's not the same thing as connecting the dots onto the consequences of it. So they might know that they're sitting in a dirty diaper surrounded by a bunch of dead bodies, but whether or not that phases them, I don't know. Because all the different kinds of madnesses are represented in Flesh Eater courts. There's some who have no idea. They're not even seeing the same things as each other, and then there's sometimes others where they seem to understand what's going on with each other. A little collaboration. Flesh Eater courts are the most happy people in the Mortar Realms. Exactly. It's tied between them and orcs. It always has been. Because you either have to be crazy enough to not know how bad things are, or a different kind of crazy to just enjoy them the way that they are. All right, friends, it has been over an hour. I think I'm going to go ahead and stretch out and do some house chores. But I wanted to hang out with you guys because I had, frankly, missed my channel a lot. I'm excited to get back into things with Scaven, and I'm hoping to enjoy gaming a little bit more regularly with the Khorne stuff rather than the Flesh Eater courts because I'm just not caring for them right now. But I'm very excited to learn more about the game and hang out with you guys. I'm so excited for 4th. This is kind of where I'm jumping into 4th rather than when it launched because of the summer travel and stuff. But I love what the Scaven Battle Tome has shown us, and it makes me really excited for every future faction, whether that's Spearheads or Armies of Renown for thematic forces. I'm just really engaged, and it just seems like a lot of fun. So I would love to hear your thoughts on 4th. If there's anything we talked about today you want to add some comments on, please leave it down below, but I will see you in tomorrow's video regarding Blight City and the Skaven clans and stuff like that. So friends, thank you so much. I will hang out with you